Welcome back to Macro Goals YouTube. Today we are talking about if you're really short of time, what is the best way to spend that time to still make sure that you're going to get some benefit to your mobility and to your golf. So before we get into this video, if this is one of the first videos you're seeing from this page, it'd be great for me if you hit the subscribe button and also hit that like button as well when you see something in this video that takes your interest. So what we're talking about here is, as amateur golfers, we don't have plenty of time in our week, in our days to spend working on our mobility, right? We're also told we need to be working on our swing speed, we need to be working on our technique, we should be doing our mobility, we should be doing plenty of other stuff. So life gets in the way and quite often we end up doing nothing. But that doesn't need to be the case. So for most of the people that I screen, the biggest failed test is the deep overhead squat test. And when we think about that, when we think about the deep overhead squat test and what that could do in your golf swing, chances are you're going to early extend. So when we think about the biggest issue in amateur golfers, early extension is one of those biggest issues. So we can kind of put two and two together there. So if you're really short on time, majority of the time should, in a mobility sense, be spent on improving your deep overhead squat, because then it's more likely that's going to help your golf game in terms of early extension, and also more likely help you with other things in your swing mechanic. So following on for that, after the deep overhead squat, it's then probably looking at internal and external rotation of the hips, which is the second biggest failed test. So if we can get some good work done in the hips in a pretty short amount of time, we can pretty much guarantee that is going to have some kind of benefit to our golf swing. So if you are short of time, I recommend going through what I'm going to show you today to kind of get the most out of that time, right? And what I'm going to show you is something you can do in front of the TV at home. It's only going to take kind of around 6 or 7 minutes to get this whole routine done. And after this, your hips are going to feel so much better as you walk away. You're going to improve your deep overhead squat. You're going to give yourself less chance of early extension. It's going to improve your hip rotation as well, less chance of sway and slide, and this is just the best way to get the most bang for your buck. So let's get into it. First thing I want to get you to do is just test your deep squat. Now we're not going to worry too much about the overhead squat at this point, because most of the times when people fail this test, it's coming from the lower half. It's not normally the upper half that's restricting this test. So we're going to focus specifically on the lower half, more importantly in the hips and also in the ankle a little bit as well. So first thing you can do is you're just going to test your deep squat. So your feet completely straight forward. What you're going to do is you've got to drop down into a deep squat. Now I can get pretty low. That feels quite good for me. You might find that you're up here, that's fine. But I just want you to feel what that deep squat feels like. All right. Once you feel that, we're just going to go through a small routine to open up these hips and also work on the ankles. So I'm actually going to do this in 4, which means you can actually use this video and follow along to it if you want to. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the left leg forward and right leg back. And as I do this, you see that I can get my knee behind my hip. This is really key. So right knee is behind the right hip. I'm going to have my left foot forward, and throughout this whole sequence on this side, this left foot is going to remain completely flat on the mat until I tell you to move that up. So left foot completely flat on the mat, right knee behind right hip. And now what I'm going to do in this position is just noodle around. So I'm just kind of moving around, touching some end range, kind of moving this knee around this ankle, moving my hips around, touching into different sides, working on the inside, working on the outside, and just kind of imagine if you had a central spot. You're just going to touch out at different angles away from that spot and then back to the middle. So what you can do is you're going to spend around 30 seconds in this position, and this is just going to get us used to being in this position, opening up this hip. So I'm going to get some nice good hip opening coming onto this left side. I've got this right hip into some extension, which is great as well. So I'm going to get a little bit of work on the hip flexors. And if I want, I can also kind of really pin this foot down and start to get a little bit of movement in this left ankle as well. So when we're talking about using the time wisely, if we can get more work done in one go, that's going to be great for us if we're short of time. Now, as we come up to 30 seconds on this side, I'm not going to keep count, so you can go back and complete this fully if you need to. What we're now going to do is we're going to think about pulling our belly button away from this left leg. So I'm going to pull my belly button away to the right, pull the belly button away to the right, and now what I can even do is use my left hand to push this left knee away from me. So I push the left knee away, pull my belly button to the right, and again I can just move around in this position. I'm a little bit short of room here. I'd like to rotate a little bit more, but that's going to be fine for this demonstration. And again, I'm just doing the same. You can see I'm just touching into that end range, touching back, moving through, moving it around, just seeing where it feels tight, where it feels stiff. Touching that point, really trying to pull this belly button around to that side. And once we hit 30 seconds here, We're then going to do the opposite. So I'm going to pull my belly button now to the left. And as you pull your belly button to the left, you're going to start to feel a little bit more of a stretch coming to this right hip flexor. We've still got this left foot flat on the floor, but now I'm noodling around in this position with belly button pulled to the left. So really getting some good work done in this hip now. Nice. If you've got the range, you can drop down to your elbow if you want to, or stay up on your hand. So again, we'd find around 30 seconds in this position. So we're up to kind of 1.5 minutes on this leg now. And what we're now going to do is cross this left foot over to the right side and start to drop this knee down towards the mat, but the knee is not going to get to the mat. So we're going to roll to the outside of this left foot. Knee's going to stay up slightly. My left foot is now kind of in line with my belly button. And again, I'm just going to noodle around in this position, just putting this leg back and forth. Belly button still facing forwards now. And now we're looking at a little bit of rotation in this hip. I can come all the way back in this position. I can come all the way forward and just moving around. If I wanted to do some rotation, I can look over my left shoulder, look over my right shoulder. But I'm just spending 30 seconds or so in this position now, which will build us up to around 2 minutes on this one leg. And when we're done, we can come back, and what I always like to do is just test how that feels. Now for me, you can probably see it on the camera as well, it just feels like I've got so much freedom from this left leg now compared to this right. So I know I've got a lot of good work done on that left hip. Obviously I'll go and repeat then on the right leg and come back and repeat that squat. And once we've done left leg and right leg, so 2 minutes on left leg, 2 minutes on the right leg, we're then going to come and work some time in our deep squat position. So from once we've done both legs, we're going to come back into our deep squat, and I don't mind if it's up here or all the way down here, but we're just going to spend a little bit of time in this deep squat. I like to spend between 2 and 3 minutes, and from that routine, what we can do, we can start to do a little bit of work of rolling onto the toes, rolling it through. We can shift our weight to one side, shift our weight to the other. We can push our elbows out with our knees. But the most important thing is we just keep moving and just keep playing in this position. You can even extend one leg out, drop down, play in this position, work around on some rotation. You can then come onto the other side, work it around. But the idea is you're just keeping moving in this end range position. When you're done, you can stand back up, have one more test of your deep squat, and feel how much looser you'll be in that position. So we're thinking 2 minutes on each leg, working 30-second blocks as we go through. So we've got 2 minutes this side, 2 minutes this side will take us to 4 minutes, and then around 2 to 3 minutes in that deep squat position. And it just means you can get some fantastic work done on your hips and on your ankles in around 6 or 7 minutes, and you can do all of that sat in front of the TV. So if you are really short of time and you really don't know where to start, I really recommend starting here. Chances are, even if you haven't been screened, you're probably going to be limited in the hips or the ankles to some degree, and your deep overhead squat is probably going to be slightly limited, which can make you more prone to early extension. So if you are really short of time, get doing this. You can do this every day. You can extend it out a little bit longer on the times that you do have time. But guys, that, if you're short of time, is going to be the best bang for your buck. If you enjoyed that video, great, hit the subscribe button, click the like button as well, and obviously share this video with all your friends and help out all your fellow amateur golfers. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.